Captain Sarah stood on the bridge of the UNS Defiance, watching the massive alien fleet approach Earth's solar system. Her dark eyes reflected the cold light of distant stars as she studied the tactical display. 375 ships of unknown design moved in perfect formation toward humanity's home. Each vessel dwarfed Earth's largest battleships, their sleek black hulls absorbing starlight like hungry shadows. "Contact established, Captain," reported Lieutenant from the communications station. His young face was pale with tension. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put it through," Sarah ordered, her voice steady despite the ice forming in her stomach. The bridge speakers crackled to life with a voice that seemed to echo from the depths of space itself. The translator struggled to process the alien language, creating an eerie, mechanical tone that sent chills down every spine present. "Primitive species of the third planet. You have been assessed and found wanting. Your violent nature and reckless expansion threaten the peace of this galaxy. By order of the Hegemony Council, you will surrender all military assets and submit to immediate relocation. Yours will be cleansed and repurposed for a more worthy civilization. You have 72 of your planetary rotations to comply. Resistance will result in complete extinction." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in dead silence. Sarah felt the eyes of her crew upon her, waiting for orders, waiting for hope. She had served in the United Nations Space Force for 15 years, rising through the ranks during humanity's rapid expansion to the stars. She had fought pirates in the asteroid belts, negotiated with alien traders in distant systems, and commanded rescue operations in the void between worlds. But nothing had prepared her for this moment. "Ma'am," said quietly, "Earth Command is requesting immediate communication." Sarah nodded. "Patch them through to my ready room. Commander Harrison, you have the bridge." The ready room felt smaller than usual as Sarah activated the quantum communicator. The holographic image of Admiral materialized before her, his weathered face grave with the weight of command. Behind him, she could see the controlled chaos of Earth's military headquarters. "Captain," the Admiral began without preamble, "I assume you've heard their demands." "Yes, sir. What are our orders?" His laugh held no humor. "Orders? Sarah, we're facing an enemy with technology centuries beyond our own. Our entire fleet consists of 47 ships, most of them exploration vessels with minimal armament. They have nearly 400 warships, each one capable of reducing our strongest battleship to scrap metal." Sarah straightened in her chair. "With respect, Admiral, that wasn't what I asked." The old man's eyes softened slightly. "No, it wasn't." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "The President addressed the United Nations Emergency Assembly an hour ago. The vote was unanimous. Earth will not surrender. We will not abandon our home, and we will not submit to relocation like cattle. Sir, if their technology is as advanced as our sensors indicate." "I know the odds, Captain. Every simulation our best strategists have run ends the same way. Complete human defeat within hours of engagement. But here's what those simulations can't account for." Leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. "They don't know us. They don't understand what humans are capable of when we're cornered." Sarah felt a familiar fire kindling in her chest, the same flame that had driven her ancestors to cross oceans, climb mountains, and reach for the stars. "What do you need from the Defiance?" "Buy us time. Your ship and the 3 other vessels in your sector need to delay their advance while we prepare Earth's defenses. It won't be much, but every hour counts." "How long do we need to hold them?" His expression grew even more grim. 72 hours. We're implementing Operation Last Stand." Sarah's breath caught. Operation Last Stand was theoretical, a desperate plan developed by Earth's military theorists for the worst-case scenario. It involved converting every piece of human technology into a weapon, from mining equipment to civilian spacecraft. Every space station would become a fortress. Every asteroid mining facility would be armed with improvised weapons. It was madness, but it was human madness. "Understood, Admiral. The Defiance will buy you that time." Sarah said, his professional facade cracking slightly. "You know what this means? Your ship, your crew." "We know, sir. It's been an honor serving with the UNSF." The Admiral snapped to attention and saluted. "The honor has been ours, Captain. Give them hell." The connection terminated, leaving Sarah alone with the weight of command and the certainty of death. She took a moment to compose herself, then returned to the bridge. Commander Harrison immediately stepped aside as she approached the captain's chair. "Orders, ma'am." Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew. 23 souls, most of them young enough to be her children. At Communications, barely 25. Ensign Parker at Tactical, fresh from the academy. Chief Engineer Murphy, who had volunteered for this mission to see the galaxy. They deserved to know what they were facing. "Listen up, everyone," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the bridge. "I won't lie to you. We've been asked to do the impossible. Our orders are to delay an alien fleet nearly 10 times our size while Earth prepares its defenses. The enemy's technology is superior to ours in every way. Our chances of survival are essentially zero." She paused, watching their faces. Fear was there, but she also saw something else. Determination. The same stubborn refusal to yield that had carried humanity from caves to the stars. "However," she continued, "we are not asked to win. We are not asked to destroy their fleet. We are asked to buy time for our home, for our families, for every human being who has ever lived or ever will live. That is something worth dying for." Ensign Parker raised her hand tentatively. "Captain, what about the other ships in our sector?" "The UNS Indomitable, the UNS Resolute, and the UNS Phoenix are already moving to support us. 4 ships against nearly 400. Sarah smiled grimly. "I like those odds." Nervous laughter rippled across the bridge. It was gallows humor, but it was human humor. "Chief Murphy," Sarah called to engineering, "how's our reactor?" The gruff Irish voice came back immediately. "Running hot and clean, Captain. I can give you emergency power if needed, though I can't guarantee the safeties will hold." "Acknowledged. Tactical, what's our weapons status?" "All rail guns operational," Parker reported. "Missile tubes loaded with our full complement of antimatter torpedoes, point defense systems online." "Good. Helm set course to intercept the enemy fleet. Maximum burn." The ship shuddered as its powerful engines engaged, pushing the crew back into their seats. Sarah watched the tactical display as the distance between the Defiance and the alien armada slowly decreased. Her ship was fast, built for long-range exploration and capable of sustained high acceleration. But speed wouldn't save them from what was coming. "Captain," called out, "I'm receiving transmissions from the other ships in our group." "Put Captain on screen." The weathered face of the Indomitable's commander appeared on the main display. Behind him, Sarah could see his bridge crew working with the same desperate efficiency as her own. "Sarah," said, his Scottish accent thick with emotion, "I assume you got the same orders we did." "Affirmative, James. 72 hours. My engineer says he can soup up our weapons, maybe give us a fighting chance." "Any plan is better than no plan. What do you have in mind?" His grin was fierce. "We strip the safeties from our antimatter containment systems, turn our own reactors into bombs, if we can get close enough to their ships." Sarah understood immediately. It was a suicide run, but it might work. Antimatter explosions were among the most destructive forces known to physics. If they could detonate their reactors near enemy vessels, they might take a few of the aliens with them. "That's assuming we can get through their defenses," Sarah pointed out. "That's where the other 2 ships come in," continued. "Phoenix and Resolute will engage from long range, draw their attention. Meanwhile, we push straight through their formation." It was insane, it was desperate, it was completely, utterly human. "I'll need 30 minutes to make the modifications," Murphy's voice came from engineering. "And Captain, once we start this, there's no going back. The containment fields will be barely stable." Sarah closed her eyes, thinking of Earth. Of the blue skies she had grown up under, the forests where she had played as a child, the cities where billions of humans lived their lives in blissful ignorance of the fleet bearing down on them. When she opened her eyes, her decision was made. "Do it, Chief. All ships implements plan. We go in fast and we go in hard." The next 30 minutes passed in a blur of activity. Engineering teams worked frantically to modify reactor systems never designed for what they were being asked to do. Weapons crews loaded every missile tube and checked every rail gun. The bridge crew ran through emergency protocols they all knew wouldn't matter in the end. "Modifications complete," Murphy reported, his voice tight with stress. "Captain, I should warn you. These reactors are now essentially controlled bombs. Any significant damage to the containment systems and will go up like a supernova." "Understood, Chief. How long until we reach weapons range?" 15 minutes at current speed," Parker answered from Tactical. "Signal the fleet. All ships prepare for engagement." Sarah settled back in her command chair and watched the enemy vessels grow larger on the display. As they drew closer, details became visible on the alien ships. They were beautiful in their own way, all sweeping curves and graceful lines. But there was something predatory about them, like sharks gliding through dark water. "Captain," said suddenly, "I'm picking up a transmission from the enemy fleet." "Let's hear it." The same mechanical voice filled the bridge. "Human vessels, you approach our formation in an aggressive manner. You have been warned of the consequences of resistance. Withdraw immediately or face destruction." Sarah stood up, straightening her uniform. "Open a channel to their flagship." "Channel open, Captain." Sarah's voice rang clear across space, carrying with it the defiance of an entire species. "This is Captain Sarah of the United Nations Space Force. Your demand for surrender has been received and rejected. Earth stands ready to defend itself against unprovoked aggression. You want our world? Come and take it." The response was immediate. Energy weapons beyond human understanding lashed out from the alien fleet, their brilliant beams cutting through space toward the 4 human ships. The real battle was about to begin. "All ships evasive maneuvers," Sarah ordered. "Return fire." The Defiants rolled and twisted through space as Parker opened fire with every weapon they had. Railgun rounds streaked toward the enemy fleet, while antimatter torpedoes followed behind them. The other human ships did the same, filling space with deadly projectiles. But the aliens were ready. Point defense systems destroyed most of the incoming missiles before they could reach their targets. Energy shields absorbed the rail gun impacts, and still the alien weapons reached out with surgical precision. The UNS Resolute took a direct hit amidships, her hull splitting open like an overripe fruit. Atmosphere and debris scattered into space as the ship's reactor went critical. Captain Williams and his crew of 19 died instantly in a ball of nuclear fire. "Resolute is gone," Parker reported, her young voice shaking. "Stay focused," Sarah ordered. "Phoenix and Indomitable continue long-range engagement. Defiance is beginning attack run." She turned to helm. "Take us straight down their throat, full power to forward shields." The ship lurched forward as its engines screamed at maximum output. More alien weapons reached for them, but the Defiance was small and fast. Energy beams missed by meters as Sarah's helmsman threw the ship through impossible maneuvers. "Range decreasing," Parker called out. 2 minutes to optimal detonation distance." Sarah gripped her command chair as the ship shook under enemy fire. Around them, the alien fleet was turning to focus their attention on the small human vessel racing toward their formation. Hundreds of weapons tracked their approach. "Captain said quietly, I'm receiving a message from Earth Command." "Put it through." Admiral's voice filled the bridge one last time. "Sarah, you magnificent bastard, you've got their attention. Every ship in their fleet is focused on you. That's given our long-range sensors a clear view of their formation." "Glad to help, Admiral. What did you find?" "Their command ship is in the center of the formation, exactly where we thought it would be. If you can reach it." Sarah understood. Taking out the command ship might not destroy the fleet, but it would certainly disrupt their coordination. It might buy Earth more than 72 hours. 1 minute to optimal range," Parker announced. The Defiance shook as multiple energy beams struck her shields. Warning lights flashed across the bridge as systems overloaded and failed. But still they pressed on, diving deeper into the heart of the alien formation. "Shields at 30%, Parker reported. 20%. 10%. Shields down, hull breaches on decks 4 and 7. Sarah felt the ship dying around her, but they were almost there. The massive alien command ship filled there, its dark hull bristling with weapons that tracked their approach. "Now, Chief," Sarah shouted, "overload the reactor." Murphy's voice came back, strained with effort. "Containment fields destabilizing, 30 seconds to detonation." The Defiance continued her death ride straight toward the alien flagship. Around them, space filled with energy beams and projectiles as the enemy fleet concentrated all their firepower on the small human ship. But they were too late to stop what was coming. Sarah looked around her bridge one last time at the brave souls who had followed her into certain death for the sake of their species. "It's been an honor serving with all of you." 10 seconds to detonation," Murphy called out. Admiral stood in the primary command center buried 3 kilometers beneath the Swiss Alps, watching the tactical display that showed the Defiance's final moments. The antimatter explosion bloomed like a new star, its brilliant light briefly outshining the local sun. When the radiation cleared, both the Defiance and the alien command ship were gone, leaving only expanding clouds of superheated plasma. "Signal from Phoenix," reported Commander Hayes at the communications station. "They're beginning their attack run." Nodded grimly. Captain was following the same plan that had just cost Sarah her life and her ship. The Indomitable had already begun its own suicide run, racing toward the largest concentrations of enemy vessels. In the span of 10 minutes, humanity would lose 4 ships and 137 brave souls. But they had bought something precious with their sacrifice. "Analysis complete," Doctor announced from the science station. "The alien command ship destruction has disrupted their formation. Enemy vessels are regrouping, but their coordination is definitely impaired." "How long before they reach Earth?" asked. 68 hours at current speed," came the reply. Turned to face the massive holographic display that dominated the command center's main floor. It showed Earth and the surrounding space in perfect detail, including every defense installation, space station, and ship currently under human control. Red icons marked the approaching alien fleet, while blue showed humanity's forces. The disparity was still overwhelming. "Status report on Operation Last Stand," she ordered. General Martinez stepped forward, his weathered face grim. "All civilian populations have been evacuated to the underground shelters. Every space-capable vessel has been armed with whatever weapons we could improvise. Mining ships now carry nuclear warheads. Cargo haulers have been equipped with rail guns. Even the luxury cruise liners have been fitted with missile launchers." Studied the numbers scrolling across her personal display. Total defensive assets: 2,347 vessels of various sizes and capabilities. Most are civilian craft with minimal armor and improvised weapons. Our actual military fleet remains at 43 ships after the losses in the outer system. The numbers should have been encouraging. Humanity had managed to field over 2,000 ships against an enemy force of less than 400, but knew the truth behind those statistics. Most of their vessels were converted mining equipment and cargo haulers, operated by volunteers with minimal military training. The alien fleet consisted entirely of purpose-built warships operated by an advanced civilization. "What about the fixed defenses?" she asked. "All orbital platforms are operational," replied Colonel Singh from the Defensive Coordination Station. "Luna Base has been converted to a fortress with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The asteroid mining stations have been repositioned to create overlapping fields of fire. Every satellite in Earth orbit now carries some form of weapon." Nodded. In the past 72 hours, humanity had transformed its entire civilization into a weapon. Every factory had been converted to munitions production. Every civilian with space experience had been pressed into service. Children and elderly had been evacuated to the deepest bunkers, while every able-bodied adult prepared to fight for their species' survival. "Doctor," she called to the science station, "what have we learned about their technology?" The elderly physicist looked up from her displays. "The energy weapons they used against our ships operate on principles we don't fully understand. However, the sensor data from Defiance's final approach gives us some insights. Their shields appear to be electromagnetic in nature, designed to deflect energy weapons and absorb kinetic impacts up to a certain threshold." "Meaning?" "A coordinated barrage of kinetic weapons might overwhelm their defensive systems. If we can concentrate enough firepower on a single target, we might be able to penetrate their shields." It wasn't much, but it was hope. Turned to the strategic planning station where a team of her best tacticians had been working around the clock. "Major, what's our battle plan?" Major activated the holographic display, showing Earth surrounded by defensive rings. "We've arranged our forces in 3 layers. The outer ring consists of our fastest ships and the converted mining vessels. Their job is to harass the enemy fleet and force them to spread their formation. The middle ring contains our heavy cargo haulers converted to missile platforms. They'll concentrate fire on targets marked by the outer ring. The inner ring is our core military fleet and the fixed orbital defenses. They'll protect Earth itself." Studied the plan carefully. It was sound strategy given their limitations, but she could see the flaws. The alien fleet could simply ignore the outer rings and concentrate on breaking through to Earth itself. Their superior technology gave them tactical flexibility that humanity lacked. "What about irregular tactics?" she asked. His expression grew more animated. "That's where things get interesting. We've prepared several surprises. First, every civilian facility in the outer system has been rigged with nuclear charges. When the aliens approach to investigate, they'll find more than they bargained for. Second, we've hidden armed shuttles in the asteroid belt. They're too small for the aliens to detect easily, but each one carries enough antimatter to damage a capital ship. And third, we're going to ram them." The command center fell silent, stared at the major, certain she had misheard. "Explain." "Doctor's analysis suggests their shields are designed for conventional weapons, but our cargo haulers mass several thousand tons each. At maximum acceleration, they become kinetic weapons that even advanced shields might not be able to stop." Felt a chill, was talking about turning civilian ships into suicide weapons, asking volunteer crews to die in kamikaze attacks. "Do we have volunteers for such missions?" "Ma'am," said quietly, "we have more volunteers than we have ships." The Admiral closed her eyes, feeling the weight of command crushing down on her shoulders. In her 40 years of military service, she had never faced decisions like this. But then, humanity had never faced extinction before. "Admiral," Commander Hayes called from communications, "I'm receiving reports from the outer system. Phoenix and Indomitable have completed their attack runs." Looked up at the tactical display. 2 more human ships had vanished in brilliant explosions, taking several alien vessels with them. Captain and his crew were gone, along with Phoenix's brave souls, but their sacrifice had reduced the enemy fleet by 8 ships. "Current enemy strength?" she asked. 367 vessels remaining," Doctor reported. "However, their formation is still disrupted. Some ships are moving independently while others are attempting to regroup." Made her decision. "Signal all commands. Begin Operation Last Stand. All civilian ships are to engage the enemy fleet immediately. Military vessels will hold position until my order." The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Across the solar system, thousands of hastily converted civilian vessels began their journey toward the approaching alien fleet. Mining ships, cargo haulers, passenger liners, and even private yachts accelerated to maximum velocity, their improvised weapons charging for battle. Watch the tactical display as the 2 forces approached each other. The aliens had reformed their line, but they appeared confused by humanity's tactics. Their scouts reported thousands of approaching vessels, far more than their intelligence had suggested Earth possessed. "First contact in 30 minutes, reported the tactical officer. Activated the fleet communication channel. Her voice would reach every ship preparing for battle, every volunteer who had answered their species call. "All vessels, this is Admiral. In a few minutes, you will engage an enemy that considers humanity unworthy of existence. They believe we are weak because we are young. They think we are divided because we come from different nations and cultures. They assume we will surrender because they possess superior technology." She paused, looking around the command center at the faces of her staff. They were afraid, but they were determined. It was the same expression she had seen on millions of faces across Earth as humanity prepared for its darkest hour. "They are wrong," she continued. "We are not weak. We are the children of ice ages and supervolcanoes, of world wars and plagues that would have destroyed lesser species. We are not divided when it matters most. Today there are no Americans or Chinese, no Russians or Brazilians. There are only humans standing together against the dark, and we do not surrender. We have never surrendered, and we will not start now." Her voice grew stronger, carrying across space to reach every human preparing for battle. "Some of you are professional military, trained for this moment. Others are miners and traders, teachers and engineers who volunteered to defend your families. All of you are heroes. All of you represent the best of humanity. Go now and show these aliens what it means to threaten the human race." The channel closed and waited. On the display, the leading edge of humanity's fleet met the alien vanguard. The battle began with a storm of energy weapons from the alien ships, their brilliant beams reaching across space to strike the approaching human vessels. But the humans had learned from the sacrifice of the Defiance and her sister ships. Instead of flying in formation, they came in scattered groups, using evasive maneuvers and unpredictable flight patterns. The mining ship UNS Prospector, commanded by former asteroid miner Jake Collins, rolled through a barrage of energy fire that would have destroyed a conventional warship. Collins had spent 20 years navigating asteroid fields, and he used every trick he had learned to keep his ship intact long enough to return fire. His improvised rail guns sent streams of metal projectiles toward the nearest alien vessel. "Come on, you bastards," Collins muttered as his ship shook under enemy fire. "Let's see how you handle some good old-fashioned human stubbornness." The Prospector's weapons were crude compared to military-grade equipment, but they were effective. Kinetic rounds struck the alien ship's shields, each impact causing visible energy fluctuations. As more human ships joined the attack, focusing their fire on the same target, the shield began to fail. "Target shield collapse detected," reported Collins' improvised tactical officer, a former shipping clerk named Maria Santos. "Continuing bombardment." The alien vessel's shields finally failed under the concentrated assault, and kinetic rounds began impacting its hull directly. Atmosphere vented from multiple breaches as the ship's elegant lines were marred by human weapons. Within minutes, the vessel lost power and began drifting helplessly. "First kill confirmed," Santos announced with grim satisfaction. But the victory came at a cost. As the alien ship died, its companions focused their fire on the human vessels that had destroyed it. 3 mining ships vanished in quick succession, their improvised armor no match for concentrated energy weapons. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as humanity's converted civilian fleet engaged the alien armada. The cargo hauler UNS Determination, loaded with 1,000 nuclear warheads, drove straight into the heart of the enemy formation before detonating its cargo. The explosion destroyed 4 alien ships and damaged a dozen others, but it also vaporized the Determination and her crew of volunteers. The luxury liner UNS Magnificent, once used for pleasure cruises to the outer planets, now served as a missile platform carrying enough antimatter torpedoes to level a small city. Captain Elizabeth Harper, who had once hosted dinner parties for wealthy tourists, now coordinated firing solutions against alien warships. Her vessel's elegant ballrooms had been converted to weapons storage, while the grand dining hall served as an auxiliary command center. "All missile tubes loaded," reported her weapons officer, a former cruise ship entertainer who had volunteered for military duty. "Ready to fire on your command." "Fire everything," Harper ordered. "Let's give our guests a farewell party they'll never forget." The Magnificent launched every missile in its arsenal, sending waves of antimatter torpedoes toward the alien fleet. Many were destroyed by point defense systems, but enough survived to reach their targets. Multiple alien ships suffered damage as the warheads detonated against their hulls. But the aliens were adapting to human tactics. As the battle progressed, they began targeting the larger human ships first, recognizing them as the greatest threats. Energy weapons reached across space with deadly precision, and humanity's converted fleet began to suffer devastating losses. "Current status," called from the command center. "We've lost 843 vessels," reported Major. "Enemy losses stand at 37 ships destroyed or disabled. Their remaining force is 330 ships." The mathematics were brutal. Humanity was trading 20 ships for every alien vessel destroyed. At this rate, they would run out of ships long before the enemy fleet was eliminated. But they had achieved something important. "Time delay?" asked. "The enemy has been forced to reduce speed to maintain formation coherence," Doctor reported. "They won't reach Earth for another 76 hours. 4 more hours than originally planned. 4 more hours for Earth's defenses to prepare." It didn't seem like much, but knew that every minute counted. Across the planet, factories continued producing weapons and ammunition. Engineers worked frantically to improve defensive systems, and most importantly, humanity's spirit remained unbroken. "Admiral," Commander Hayes called from communications, "I'm receiving a transmission from the alien fleet." "Put it through." The mechanical voice filled the command center, but this time there was something different in its tone. Confusion, perhaps, or even grudging respect. "Human Command Authority, your species fights with unexpected determination. Your willingness to sacrifice individual vessels for minimal tactical gain demonstrates either desperation or a form of courage we did not anticipate. However, your resistance remains futile. Surrender now, and we will grant your survivors more favorable relocation terms. Activated the response channel. This is Admiral of the United Nations Space Force. Your offer is rejected. We will continue to resist your invasion with every means at our disposal. An alien commander, you made one critical mistake in your assessment. Explain. You think we're desperate. You're wrong. We're not fighting because we're cornered and afraid. We're fighting because this is our home and we choose to defend it. There's a difference you'll never understand. The communication ended and turned back to the tactical display. The battle raged on, with humanity's converted fleet continuing to harass the enemy advance. But she knew this was only the beginning. The real test would come when the alien armada reached Earth itself. Signal all remaining outer system forces, she ordered. Begin final phase of harassment operations. I want every ship, every hidden weapons platform, and every prepared surprise to engage the enemy. Make them pay for every kilometer of space. The order went out, and the solar system erupted into the largest space battle in human commander, crouched in the cramped cockpit of his modified shuttle, waiting in the silence of the asteroid belt. Around him, hidden among the countless rocks that orbited between Mars and Jupiter, 200 similar craft waited for the alien fleet to pass through their carefully prepared ambush zone. Each shuttle carried a single antimatter warhead, and a crew of volunteers who understood they were unlikely to survive the mission. Shuttle, originally designed to ferry workers between mining stations, had been stripped of everything non-essential and fitted with the most powerful engine humanity could produce. Beside him, his co-pilot Sarah monitored the passive sensors that tracked the approaching enemy fleet. Both had been civilian pilots before the invasion, ferrying cargo between the outer colonies. Now they were the last line of defense before the aliens reached Earth. Contact, whispered, though there was no one to overhear them in the vacuum of space. Enemy fleet entering the belt, 298 ships maintaining formation. Nodded, watching the tactical display as the massive alien vessels approached their position. The enemy had lost nearly a quarter of their original force to humanity's desperate resistance, but they were still powerful enough to overwhelm Earth's defenses, unless the ambush in the asteroid belt could reduce their numbers further. All shuttles maintain radio silence, came Admiral's voice over the quantum communicator. Wait for my signal. The alien fleet moved through the asteroid belt with confidence, their sensors easily tracking safe passages between the larger rocks. Their ships were beautiful and terrible, sleek predators gliding through space with lethal grace, had studied the intelligence reports on their technology. Each vessel was powered by controlled stellar fusion, armed with weapons that could crack planets, and protected by shields that had withstood everything humanity could throw at them. But they had one weakness. Their sensors were designed to detect threats at long range, focusing on large objects like warships and space stations. The tiny shuttles hidden among the asteroids barely registered on their instruments, appearing as nothing more than space debris. Fleet passing through Sector 7, reported quietly. Checked his weapons system one final time. The antimatter warhead in their cargo bay contained enough destructive power to level a major city. If they could deliver it to an alien ship, the explosion would overwhelm even advanced shielding systems. The trick was getting close enough. All shuttles begin attack run, Admiral's voice commanded. Remember, target the ships at the rear of their formation. Make every shot count. Fired his engines and felt the shuttle leap forward from its hiding place among the asteroids. Around him, 200 other small craft emerged from concealment, accelerating toward the alien fleet at maximum velocity. They were gnats attacking hawks, but gnats with nuclear stings. The alien response was immediate. Point defense systems came online, filling space with deadly energy beams designed to intercept incoming missiles. But the shuttles were not missiles. They could maneuver, dodge, and think. Threw his craft into a spinning dive that carried him past 3 separate weapon emplacements, their automated systems unable to track his erratic flight path. Targeting the cruiser on the port flank, he called to, arm the warhead. Warhead armed, proximity fuse set to 500 meters. The alien cruiser loomed larger as they approached, its dark hull bristling with weapons that tracked their approach. Energy beams lashed out at the tiny shuttle, missing by mere meters as used every pilot trick he had learned in 20 years of asteroid navigation. 3,000 meters in closing, announced. More shuttles were engaging other targets throughout the alien formation. Caught glimpses of brilliant explosions as antimatter warheads detonated against enemy hulls. The shuttle, piloted by his friend Carlos, vanished in a ball of nuclear fire as it collided with an alien destroyer, taking the enemy ship with it. 2,000 meters. An energy beam clipped their starboard wing, sending the shuttle into an uncontrolled spin. Fought the controls, using his maneuvering thrusters to stabilize their flight. Warning lights flashed across the instrument panel as multiple systems failed, but the engines still responded. 1,000 meters, almost there. The alien cruiser filled their viewport now, its weapons trying desperately to destroy the tiny craft before it could complete its attack run. But was too close, moving too fast. The point defense systems couldn't track him anymore. 500 meters, warhead detonating in 3, 2, 1. The antimatter explosion vaporized both the shuttle and its target, creating a miniature star that briefly everything else in the asteroid belt, and had time for one final thought before they were consumed by forces beyond imagination, knowing their sacrifice would save lives on Earth. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as humanity's hidden fleet delivered its deadly cargo. Of the 200 shuttles that began the attack, only 37 survived to return to base. But they had destroyed 42 alien ships and damaged dozens more. Admiral watched the tactical display from her underground command center, feeling both pride and grief at the courage of her pilots. The alien fleet had been reduced to 256 vessels, but the cost in human lives was staggering. Every day of resistance was paid for in the blood of heroes. Enemy formation regrouping, reported Major. They're beginning to move out of the asteroid belt. Estimated arrival time at Earth is now 58 hours. Status of our defensive preparations. All civilian evacuations complete. Fixed orbital defenses are at maximum readiness. The Luna base fortress is fully operational, and our remaining fleet has taken positions around Earth. Studied the holographic display showing Earth's local space. Blue icons marked humanity's defensive positions, while red showed the approaching enemy. Even after all their losses, the aliens still outnumbered Earth's defenders by more than 10 to 1. Doctor, any new insights on enemy capabilities? The physicist looked up from her analysis station, her face haggard from days without sleep. The antimatter attacks in the asteroid belt provided excellent data on their shielding systems. I believe we can develop more effective countermeasures. What do you need? Time. Give me 12 hours, and I can modify our remaining antimatter warheads to penetrate their defenses more efficiently. You have 8 hours, replied. After that, we'll need every weapon we can field. As Doctor returned to her work, activated the communication channel to Luna Base. The massive fortress built into the moon's surface had been humanity's most ambitious military project, designed to serve as Earth's guardian against threats from space. Today, it would face its ultimate test. Luna Control, this is Earth Command. Status report. Colonel Harrison's weathered face appeared on the display, the moon's command center visible behind him. All weapon systems operational, Admiral. We have 200 heavy rail guns, 50 antimatter torpedo launchers, and enough nuclear missiles to glass a continent. Our reactor core is running at maximum output. Crew status. 15,000 personnel, all volunteers. They know what's at stake. Nodded, Luna Base represented the best of human engineering and determination. Its weapons could destroy fleets, its armor could withstand planetary bombardment, and its crew was prepared to fight to the last person. Hold position until the enemy enters effective range, she ordered. When they do, hit them with everything you have. Understood, Admiral. Luna Base will not fall while a single person remains alive to fight. The communication ended and turned her attention to the approaching battle. The alien fleet had cleared the asteroid belt and was beginning its final approach to Earth. Their formation had tightened, presenting a concentrated mass of firepower that would soon test every defense humanity had prepared. Signal all commands, she ordered. Begin Operation Fortress. All defensive positions are weapons-free. Engage the enemy at maximum range. The battle for Earth began with Luna Base's opening salvo. 200 rail guns fired simultaneously, sending streams of projectiles across the void toward the alien fleet. The kinetic rounds traveled at significant fractions of light speed, crossing the distance to their targets in minutes rather than hours. The alien fleet's response was immediate and devastating. Energy weapons reached back toward Luna Base, their beams carrying enough power to melt mountain ranges. But the moon fortress had been built to withstand such attacks. Its armor plating, meters thick and reinforced with exotic materials, absorbed and deflected the enemy fire. Luna Base reports minimal damage, Commander Hayes announced. They're continuing bombardment. Around Earth, other defensive installations joined the fight. Orbital weapons platforms added their fire to Luna's barrage, while armed space stations launched waves of missiles toward the approaching fleet. The converted civilian vessels that had survived the outer system battles formed up with humanity's remaining military ships, preparing for close-quarters combat. Captain Maria Santos, formerly the tactical officer aboard the destroyed mining ship Prospector, now commanded the improvised missile cruiser Retribution. The ship had been a luxury passenger liner before the war, its elegant salons and restaurants converted to weapons storage and ammunition magazines. Santos stood on what had once been the ship's dance floor, now serving as an auxiliary command center. All missile tubes loaded with enhanced antimatter warheads, reported her weapons officer. Doctor's modifications are complete. Excellent, target the leading edge of their formation. Fire when ready. The Retribution launched 50 missiles in rapid succession, each warhead modified according to the physicist's new specifications. Instead of single large explosions, these weapons would create cascading energy fields designed to overwhelm alien shielding systems through harmonic resonance rather than brute force. Time to impact 47 seconds, the tactical officer announced. Santos watched the missile tracks on her display, knowing that everything depended on Doctor's theoretical work proving correct under combat conditions. The alien point defense systems engaged the incoming weapons, destroying many before they could reach their targets, but enough survived to test the new technology. The explosions were different this time. Instead of brief, brilliant flashes, the enhanced warheads created expanding spheres of unstable energy that seemed to eat through the alien shields like acid through metal. Several enemy vessels suddenly found themselves defenseless as their protective barriers collapsed. Direct hits on 7 targets, the tactical officer reported excitedly. Enemy shields completely disabled on 3 ships. All vessels concentrate fire on the unshielded targets, Santos ordered over the fleet communication channel. Take them down before they can restore their defenses. The response was immediate. Every human ship within range turned its weapons on the vulnerable alien vessels. Railgun rounds and conventional missiles slammed into unprotected hulls, tearing through armor and destroying critical systems. Within minutes, 3 alien cruisers had been reduced to drifting wreckage. But the enemy was adapting again. The remaining alien ships adjusted their shield frequencies, compensating for Doctor's new technology. The enhanced warheads were still effective, but they no longer guaranteed shield collapse. Enemy fleet entering Earth orbital space, Major announced. They're spreading out to surround the planet. Felt her heart sink as she watched the tactical display. The aliens were implementing a standard siege formation, positioning their ships to attack Earth from multiple directions simultaneously. Luna Base and the orbital platforms could provide covering fire for part of the planet, but there weren't enough defensive installations to protect everywhere. Admiral, Doctor called from her station. I'm detecting something unusual about their formation. Explain. They're not positioning their ships randomly. Look at the pattern. The physicist activated a secondary display showing the alien fleet's positions. They're forming geometric shapes around Earth. Specifically, they're creating a dodecahedron with 12 faces. Stared at the display, trying to understand the significance. Why would they do that? I'm not certain, but based on their energy signatures, I believe they're preparing to link their ships together into a single massive weapon array. If they succeed, they could focus the combined firepower of their entire fleet on a single target. The implications were terrifying. If the aliens could concentrate all their weapons into one beam, they could potentially crack Earth's crust or destroy Luna Base in a single shot. But the formation also presented an opportunity. How long do they need to complete this linkage? Asked. Based on the energy buildup patterns, approximately 30 minutes. And if we could disrupt the formation before they finished, the energy feedback could destroy significant portions of their fleet. But we would need to target specific ships at precisely the right moment. Made her decision instantly. Signal all commands, we're going to break their formation. Luna Base will target the ships at coordinates Alpha 7 and Gamma 3. All orbital platforms will focus on the vessels at positions Beta 4 through Beta 9. Our fleet will attack the formation's center point. It was humanity's last gamble, throwing everything they had left at the enemy in a desperate attempt to turn the aliens' own tactics against them. If it failed, Earth would be defenseless. All stations report ready, Commander Hayes announced. Execute attack plan, ordered. Space around Earth erupted in the largest display of firepower in human history. Luna Base's rail guns fired continuously, sending streams of projectiles toward their assigned targets. Orbital platforms launched every missile they possessed. The human fleet, led by ships with names like Defiance, Courage, and Hope, accelerated toward the alien formation at maximum velocity. The aliens responded with devastating counterfire, their weapons reaching out to destroy the attacking human vessels. But they were caught in an impossible position. If they broke formation to engage the human fleet more effectively, their massive weapon array would fail. If they maintained formation, they couldn't bring all their weapons to bear on the attacking forces. The battle raged for 27 minutes before the first cracks appeared in the alien formation. One of their ships, damaged by Luna Base's bombardment, began drifting out of position. The geometric pattern that held their weapon array together started to distort. Energy feedback detected in the enemy formation, Doctor announced. The linkage is becoming unstable. All units concentrate fire on the damaged ships, ordered. Break their formation now. Human weapons focused on the weakest points in the alien array, exploiting every gap and vulnerability. The enhanced antimatter warheads proved their worth, creating cascading failures that spread through the enemy fleet's linked systems. And then, in a moment that would be remembered for as long as humanity existed, the alien weapon array catastrophically failed. Energy meant to destroy worlds backfired through their own ships, consuming nearly half the fleet in an explosion that briefly turned night into day across Earth's surface. When the light faded, only 112 alien ships remained functional. They were still dangerous, still capable of devastating Earth's remaining defenses. But for the first time since the invasion began, humanity had a fighting chance. Lieutenant Colonel Jennifer Hayes stood in the observation deck of the orbital defense station Aegis, watching the aftermath of the alien formation's collapse. Debris from their destroyed ships created a glittering field of wreckage around Earth, while the surviving enemy vessels regrouped in apparent confusion. For the first time in days, she allowed herself to feel a spark of hope. Damage assessment complete, reported her tactical officer, Major. Enemy fleet reduced to 112 operational vessels. However, our losses have been severe. We have only 18 military ships remaining, plus 43 converted civilian vessels still capable of combat operations. Hayes nodded grimly. The mathematics of war were unforgiving. Even with their successful disruption of the alien weapon array, humanity was still outnumbered nearly 2-1. But something had changed in the tenor of the battle. The aliens were no longer advancing with the confident precision they had displayed at the beginning of their invasion. "Admiral on secure channel," announced the communications officer. Hayes activated her command console, and the Admiral's image appeared on her screen. Behind, the underground command center buzzed with activity as Earth's remaining military leadership coordinated their next moves. "Colonel, excellent work on the formation disruption," began. "Your station's targeting data was crucial to the success of that operation." "Thank you, Admiral. What are our orders?" "The aliens are regrouping, but they've scattered their formation. This gives us an opportunity we haven't had before. Instead of facing their entire fleet as a concentrated force, we can engage smaller groups individually." Hayes studied the tactical display showing the alien ships spread across Earth's orbital space. "A divide-and-conquer strategy. What did you have in mind?" "Doctor has been analyzing their behavior patterns. She believes the destruction of their command ship and the failure of their weapon array has disrupted their tactical coordination. They're operating more independently now, which makes them vulnerable to concentrated attacks." It made sense. Hayes had observed the same phenomenon during her years of military service. Armies that lost their command structure often fragmented into smaller units that fought bravely but lacked overall coordination. If the aliens were experiencing similar difficulties, humanity might be able to exploit that weakness. "What's the plan?" she asked. "We're going to use what's left of our fleet as mobile strike forces. Hit the isolated alien groups with everything we have, then withdraw before they can coordinate a response. Meanwhile, Luna Base and the orbital platforms will provide covering fire and prevent them from regrouping." Hayes considered the strategy. It was risky, requiring precise timing and coordination among forces that had already taken devastating losses. But it was also their best chance of victory. "Station Aegis is ready to support the operation," she replied. "We still have 80% of our weapons systems operational." "Good, you'll be coordinating fire support for Strike Group Alpha. They're targeting the alien cluster in Sector 7. The communication ended, and Hayes turned to her crew. The Aegis Defense Station had been one of humanity's most advanced military installations before the war, equipped with the latest weapons and sensors. Now it would serve as a command post for what might be humanity's final offensive. "All stations prepare for extended combat operations," she ordered. "Target the alien ships in Sector 7. When Strike Group Alpha begins their attack run, we'll provide covering fire." Major worked quickly at his console, coordinating with the other orbital installations. "Stations Artemis and Apollo report ready. Luna Base is repositioning to support the operation. All strike groups are moving into position." Hayes watched the tactical display as humanity's remaining ships maneuvered for their attack. The converted cargo hauler Determination II, commanded by Captain, led a formation of 6 ships toward the nearest cluster of alien vessels. The military escort carrier Valiant followed close behind, its fighter squadrons ready to engage enemy interceptors. "Strike Group Alpha beginning attack run," reported the communications officer. The battle erupted with immediate intensity. The human ships opened fire at maximum range, their enhanced antimatter weapons creating cascading energy fields that battered the alien shields. But the enemy responded quickly, their own weapons reaching out to engage the attacking force. "Covering fire now," Hayes ordered. The Aegis Station's heavy rail guns joined the battle, sending streams of projectiles toward the alien ships. The other orbital platforms added their firepower, creating overlapping fields of fire that forced the enemy vessels to divide their attention between multiple threats. Captain's voice crackled over the communication channel. "This is Determination II. We're taking heavy fire but pressing the attack. Their shields are weakening." Hayes watched as the converted cargo hauler drove straight into the heart of the alien formation, its improvised armor absorbing tremendous punishment. Had been a civilian freight captain before the war, hauling supplies between the outer colonies. Now he commanded a ship loaded with enough antimatter to destroy a small moon, leading a charge against humanity's greatest enemy. "Direct hit on the lead alien cruiser," Major announced. "Their shields are down." "All stations concentrate fire on the unshielded target," Hayes ordered. The combined firepower of 3 orbital platforms converged on the vulnerable alien ship. Railgun rounds and missile strikes hammered its hull until the vessel broke apart in a series of secondary explosions. It was humanity's first clean kill since the formation disruption, and the psychological effect on the remaining enemy ships was immediately apparent. "Enemy formation breaking up," reported. "They're attempting to withdraw." "Don't let them escape. Signal Strike Group Beta to intercept." The second wave of human ships, led by the military destroyer Defiant, moved to cut off the aliens' retreat. Commander Sarah Park, who had taken over after the original Defiance's destruction, pressed her attack with the same determination that had characterized humanity's entire defense. "This is Defiant. We have them cornered, beginning final assault." Hayes held her breath as she watched the destroyer engage 3 alien ships simultaneously. The odds were impossible, but Park's crew fought with the skill and desperation of people defending their homes. The Defiant's weapons blazed continuously, its enhanced antimatter torpedoes finding gaps in enemy defenses. "Enemy ship destroyed," announced. "Defiant is engaging the remaining vessels." But the cost was mounting. The Determination II took a direct hit that penetrated its makeshift armor, venting atmosphere and debris into space. Ship was dying, but it continued to fight, its weapons firing until the very end. Determination II is going critical, reported the communications officer. They're requesting permission for a ramming attack. Hayes felt a chill, was asking for permission to turn his ship into a kinetic weapon, sacrificing himself and his crew to take out an enemy vessel. It was the kind of desperate tactic that had characterized humanity's entire defense, but it never got easier to approve such requests. Permission granted, she said quietly. Godspeed, Determination II. His final transmission was calm and professional. Thank you, Admiral. It's been an honor serving with the fleet. Tell my family I died defending home. The converted cargo hauler accelerated to ramming speed, driving straight toward the largest alien ship in the formation. Enemy weapons concentrated on the approaching vessel, but it was too late to stop what was coming. The Determination II struck the alien cruiser at nearly 10% of light speed, and both ships vanished in a brilliant explosion that illuminated the dark side of Earth. Remaining enemy ships are withdrawing, reported. Strike Group Alpha has eliminated the entire cluster. Hayes allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. 6 alien ships had been destroyed in exchange for the loss of 2 human vessels. Those were the best exchange rates they had achieved since the war began. Status of other strike groups, she asked. Groups Beta and Gamma report similar success. We've eliminated 31 enemy ships in the past 4 hours. However, our losses include 7 ships and over 300 personnel. The mathematics were still brutal, but they were improving. More importantly, the alien fleet was showing signs of genuine disorganization. Their ships were operating independently now, making tactical decisions without apparent coordination with other units. Admiral on priority channel, announced the communications officer. Hayes accepted the transmission, and the Admiral's image appeared on her screen. For the first time since the invasion began, was actually smiling. Colonel, I have news that might interest you. Doctor has been analyzing the alien communication intercepts from our recent engagements. She believes she's identified something significant. What kind of something? The aliens appear to be experiencing what we might call a crisis of command. Their communications show increasing disagreement about tactical decisions. Some ships want to continue the assault on Earth's surface installations. Others are arguing for a strategic withdrawal to regroup. A few are even suggesting they should accept a negotiated settlement. Hayes felt her pulse quicken. They're having second thoughts about the invasion. More than that, Doctor believes their entire assessment of humanity was based on flawed assumptions. They expected us to surrender after suffering moderate casualties. They thought our technology gap would make resistance futile. They assumed our diverse cultures would prevent effective cooperation. All of which proved incorrect. Exactly. And now they're facing an enemy that refuses to quit, uses innovative tactics they didn't anticipate, and has already cost them nearly 60% of their invasion force. From their perspective, this campaign has become a disaster. Hayes considered the implications. Military history was full of examples where determined resistance by an apparently weaker force had convinced stronger enemies to abandon their objectives. If the aliens were genuinely questioning the wisdom of their invasion, humanity might have an opportunity to achieve something beyond mere survival. What are our next moves? She asked. We continue the pressure. Every alien ship we destroy makes their position more untenable, but we also need to be ready for the possibility that they might attempt to negotiate. Do we want to negotiate with them? His expression grew hard. That depends entirely on what they're willing to offer. They came here demanding our surrender and threatening to relocate our entire species. Any negotiation would need to start with their complete withdrawal from human space and a guarantee that they'll never return. The communication ended, and Hayes returned her attention to the ongoing battle. Around Earth, the scattered alien formations continued to face attacks from humanity's mobile strike forces. Each engagement followed the same pattern: concentrated human firepower against isolated enemy ships, followed by rapid withdrawal before other alien units could respond. The strategy was working, but it required perfect timing and coordination. Major monitored dozens of tactical displays, tracking the movements of both human and alien forces as the battle raged across Earth's orbital space. Strike Group Charlie reports successful engagement, he announced. 4 enemy ships destroyed, 2 human vessels damaged but operational. Group Delta is beginning their attack run on the cluster near Luna Base. Group Echo requests fire support for their withdrawal. They've taken heavy damage but eliminated their targets. Hayes coordinated the defense station's support for each engagement, using Aegis's powerful sensors to track enemy movements and its heavy weapons to provide covering fire. The station had become the nerve center for humanity's counteroffensive, its crew working with machine-like efficiency despite their exhaustion. Colonel called out suddenly. Long-range sensors are detecting something unusual. The alien ships in Sector 12 are beginning to group together. Hayes studied the tactical display, watching as 23 alien vessels moved into a tight formation. Are they preparing another weapon array? Negative, the energy signatures are different. Doctor is analyzing the patterns now. A few minutes later, the physicist's voice came over the communication channel. Colonel Hayes, this is Doctor. The aliens in Sector 12 are not preparing for combat. Based on their formation and energy signatures, I believe they're preparing to withdraw from the system. Hayes felt her heart skip a beat. Withdraw, are you certain? The pattern matches known signatures for faster-than-light jump preparation. They're charging their drive systems for interstellar travel. It was happening. After days of desperate fighting, after thousands of casualties and the near destruction of human civilization, some of the aliens were actually giving up. The implications were staggering. Signal Admiral immediately, Hayes ordered, and patch me through to all strike group commanders. When the connections were established, Hayes addressed the fleet. All commands, this is Colonel Hayes aboard Station Aegis. Long-range sensors indicate that enemy forces in Sector 12 are preparing to withdraw from the system. However, this represents only 23 ships out of their remaining force of 81 vessels. The other enemy units show no signs of retreat. Captain Park's voice came back immediately. Orders, Colonel. Hayes made the decision that would define the next phase of the battle. Let the ones in Sector 12 leave. Do not engage retreating enemy forces unless they show hostile intent. Focus all remaining attacks on alien ships that are still maintaining combat readiness. It was a calculated risk. Allowing some enemies to escape might mean they would return with reinforcements. But it also sent a clear message to the remaining alien forces. Surrender was an option, but continued resistance would be met with unrelenting force. Over the next 6 hours, the pattern repeated itself. As human strike forces continued, Admiral stood in the primary observation deck of Luna Base, watching the final engagement of the war unfold in the space between Earth and the Moon. 37 alien ships remained in combat formation, surrounded by the wreckage of their once mighty fleet. The survivors fought with desperate courage, but they were outnumbered now by humanity's remaining forces. The irony was not lost on her. 5 days ago, nearly 400 alien vessels had entered the solar system demanding humanity's surrender. Now the tables were completely turned, with human ships pressing attacks against the last holdouts of the invasion force. Final enemy cluster is concentrated near the L4 point, reported Colonel Singh from the tactical station. Our remaining strike groups are moving to engage. Nodded, studying the holographic display that showed the closing stages of humanity's greatest victory. The human fleet had been reduced to 12 military vessels and 21 converted civilian ships, but they fought with the confidence of forces that had already won the war. Signal from the enemy formation, announced the communications officer. They're requesting parley. Felt a mix of satisfaction and wariness. After 5 days of brutal combat, the aliens finally wanted to talk, but she remembered their original demands for unconditional surrender and had no intention of showing mercy to an enemy that had threatened to destroy her species. Put them through, she ordered. The mechanical voice that had first delivered humanity's death sentence now carried a very different tone. Where once there had been arrogant certainty, now heard exhaustion and defeat. Human military command. This is War Prime of the Hegemony Third Fleet. I request immediate cessation of hostilities for the purpose of negotiating terms. Activated her response channel, making sure her voice reached every remaining alien ship. This is Admiral of the United Nations Space Force. Your request for negotiations is noted. However, you will first order all remaining ships to cease combat operations and assume passive positions. There was a long pause before the alien commander responded. Admiral, my remaining forces are prepared to withdraw from your system. Surely this satisfies your defensive requirements. Withdrawal is not sufficient, replied coldly. You came here threatening to destroy our civilization and relocate our species. Before any negotiations begin, you will surrender your vessels and submit to detention. Your crews will be questioned about your military capabilities and the location of other hegemony forces. The silence stretched for nearly 5 minutes. Could imagine the heated discussions taking place aboard the alien ships as their commanders grappled with the reality of complete defeat. Finally, his voice returned. Admiral, your terms are unacceptable. The hegemony does not surrender to primitive species. Then you will die as primitively as you lived, responded. All strike groups resume attack, no quarter given. The battle resumed with immediate intensity, but it was hardly a contest anymore. The human ships had learned to exploit every weakness in alien technology, while their own enhanced weapons had proven devastatingly effective. The remaining alien vessels fought bravely, but they were overwhelmed by superior numbers and innovative tactics. The military destroyer Defiant, under Commander Sarah Park's leadership, led the final assault. Her ship had been damaged in previous engagements but remained fully operational, its crew working with the precision of veterans despite their youth. Park herself had been a junior officer when the war began, but 5 days of desperate combat had forged her into one of humanity's finest commanders. This is Defiant, beginning final attack run on the enemy flagship. Watched as the destroyer drove toward the largest remaining alien ship, dodging energy beams with the graceful agility that had become humanity's trademark in space combat. Behind Park's ship, the converted cargo hauler Phoenix II and the military escort Valiant provided covering fire. Enemy flagship shield strength at 40%, reported Colonel Singh, continuing bombardment. The alien vessel, identified as War Prime's command ship, was 3 times the size of the Defiant and armed with weapons capable of cracking moons. But its shields were failing under the concentrated assault of human weapons, and its return fire was becoming increasingly erratic. Direct hit on their command section, Singh announced. Enemy ship is losing power. War Prime's voice came over the communication channel one final time, but the mechanical translation could not hide the defeat in his tone. Admiral, I surrender my remaining forces. Please, no more killing. Felt no satisfaction in the alien's capitulation. Too many good people had died to reach this moment. Too many heroes would never see their home again. But humanity had survived, and that was what mattered. All human forces cease fire, she ordered. Enemy vessels, power down all weapons and prepare for boarding parties. Any ship that resists will be destroyed immediately. One by one, the alien vessels. Their elegant ships, once symbols of overwhelming technological superiority, now drifted helplessly in space as human boarding shuttles approached. The war was over. Doctor joined on the observation deck as the surrender formalities continued. The elderly physicist looked exhausted but vindicated. Her innovations had been crucial to humanity's victory. Initial analysis of the captured ships, asked. Fascinating technology, replied. Their power systems are centuries beyond our current capabilities, but their tactical thinking is remarkably rigid. They expected to face conventional resistance from a species with predictable military doctrine. Instead, they found humans. Exactly. We don't fight the way they expected any species to fight. Our willingness to sacrifice individual ships for tactical advantage, our ability to improvise weapons from civilian equipment, our refusal to surrender despite overwhelming odds. None of that fit their understanding of how wars are supposed to work. Nodded thoughtfully. What about their claims regarding the Hegemony Council? Are there other fleets out there? The prisoners we've interrogated so far indicate that this invasion was approved by their governing body, but it was considered a routine operation against a primitive species. They expected minimal resistance and quick victory. The fact that they've lost nearly their entire fleet will undoubtedly come as a shock to their superiors. Meaning humanity has just announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Every advanced civilization will hear about the species that destroyed a hegemony fleet using improvised weapons and sheer determination. The implications were sobering. Earth had won this battle, but it was likely just the beginning of humanity's involvement in galactic politics. Other species would want to know more about the upstart race that had defeated one of the galaxy's established powers. Doctor said, I want you to begin analyzing every piece of alien technology we've captured. If there are more hegemony fleets out there, we need to be ready for them. Already begun, Admiral. The engineering teams are particularly excited about their power generation systems. With some modifications, we might be able to improve our own technology by several centuries within a few years. Commander Park's voice came over the communication channel. Admiral, this is Defiant. We've successfully boarded the enemy flagship. War Prime and his senior staff are in custody. Excellent work, Commander. What's the status of their crew? Surprisingly cooperative. They seem genuinely shocked by their defeat. Several of them have expressed curiosity about human military doctrine. Almost smiled at that. The aliens had come expecting to fight a primitive species, only to discover that humanity's approach to warfare was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Now they wanted to understand how they had been beaten so decisively. Bring the War Prime to Luna Base for interrogation, she ordered. And Commander, excellent work throughout this entire campaign. Your ship and crew have the best of human courage. Thank you, Admiral. It's been an honor serving under your command. As the communication ended, activated the fleet-wide channel to address all remaining human forces. Her words would reach every ship, every station, and every person who had participated in humanity's greatest victory. All commands, this is Admiral. The alien invasion fleet has been defeated. Enemy forces have surrendered unconditionally, and their surviving ships are now under human control. After 5 days of desperate fighting, Earth is safe. She paused, thinking of all the people who had died to make this moment possible. Captain Sarah and the crew of the original Defiance. Commander and his shuttle pilots in the asteroid belt. Captain and the volunteers who had given their lives aboard the Determination II. Thousands of others who had chosen to fight rather than surrender. The cost of our victory has been enormous, she continued. We have lost brave souls whose names will be remembered for as long as humanity exists. But their sacrifice has secured not just our survival, but our future among the stars. Today, we proved that humanity will never bow to tyranny, never accept defeat, and never surrender our right to exist. Across the solar system, every human settlement erupted in celebration. On Earth, billions of people emerged from underground shelters to see the sun again. On Mars, the colonial governor declared a permanent holiday commemorating humanity's finest hour. In the asteroid belt, mining crews who had watched their colleagues die in improvised warships wept with relief and pride. But knew the real work was just beginning. In defeating the hegemony fleet, humanity had crossed a threshold. They were no longer an isolated species on a single world. They had become a galactic power with all the responsibilities and dangers that entailed. Doctor, she said, how long before we can reverse engineer their faster-than-light technology? With the intact ships we've captured, 6 months for basic understanding, perhaps 2 years for practical implementation. Why? Looked out at the wreckage field that surrounded Earth, seeing both the remnants of humanity's greatest trial and the building blocks of its future expansion. Because somewhere out there, the Hegemony Council is going to learn what happened here. When they do, they'll want to know more about the species that destroyed their fleet. Are you expecting another invasion? I'm expecting a lot of things. More invasions, certainly, but also potential allies, other species who've been oppressed by the hegemony. Civilizations that might want to trade with a race that proved advanced technology doesn't guarantee victory. Activated her personal communicator and connected to President in the underground command center. Madam President, the invasion has been defeated. We have captured significant alien technology and taken prisoners who can provide intelligence about galactic civilization. Casualties, the President asked. Severe but manageable. We lost approximately 40% of our space-capable fleet and nearly 3,000 personnel. However, we've gained access to technology that could advance our civilization by centuries. And the aliens? Their surviving forces are in custody. We've captured intact examples of their most advanced ships. More importantly, we've proven that humanity can defend itself against any threat. President's voice carried the weight of history. Admiral, you and your people have saved our species. How do we honor that sacrifice? Looked out at the stars, knowing that humanity's future lay among them. We become worthy of their sacrifice. We use what we've learned to protect Earth and expand among the stars. We make sure that no species ever again underestimates what humans are capable of when we're fighting for our homes. The communication ended and remained on the observation deck as the final alien ships were secured. Around Earth, the debris field from the greatest space battle in human history began its slow drift toward the planet's atmosphere, where it would burn up in brilliant meteor showers for months to come. The War Prime was brought aboard Luna Base under heavy guard, his elegant form now seeming diminished and defeated. During his interrogation, he would provide crucial information about hegemony capabilities and galactic politics. But more than that, he would serve as living proof that humanity could not be conquered or destroyed. In the months that followed, Earth would begin its transformation from an isolated world to a spacefaring civilization. The captured alien technology would revolutionize human science and engineering. New ships would be built, incorporating the best of both human innovation and alien advancement. Colonies would be established on distant worlds, spreading humanity among the stars. But the memory of those 5 desperate days would never be forgotten. In every human settlement, in every school and military academy, the story would be told of how Earth stood alone against impossible odds and emerged victorious. Children would learn the names of the heroes who died defending their home. Admiral, Captain, Commander, Captain, and thousands of others who proved that courage and determination could overcome any challenge. The aliens had demanded humanity's surrender, expecting compliance from a primitive species. Their attacks, more alien ships began grouping together in withdrawal formations. By the time Earth's sun rose over the Pacific Ocean, only 37 enemy vessels remained in combat formation. The tide of battle had finally turned in humanity's favor. History. Sarah closed her eyes and thought of home.